What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. We're just doing a little sports talk today. Hope we're all doing well. Let's go over the MLB standings. Cleveland Guardians remain in first place in the American League Central. The White Sox and Twins by 4 games. Twins, who were in first for a lot of the season, continue to struggle. They have lost 6 games in a row, are now just 1 game over 500. The White Sox are also only 1 game over 500. They've played 2 more games than the Twins. That's why it has them listed above the Twins in the standings, but they actually have the same win percentage. They're both 4 games out of the division. Cleveland's been playing some good baseball. They're only 9 games over 500, but they are in first in that division. Could be a similar situation to the Braves last year. Braves last year had 88 wins, but that was still good enough to win the division. Usually you have to win at least 90, if not 100 games to win your division. Last year the Braves had 88 wins. We had, it's funny, the Braves ended up winning the World Series. And back, I think it was in 2006, St. Louis Cardinals only had 83 wins. The division was so bad, they ended up winning the division. They ended up also winning the World Series. So, now Cleveland is in first place for now, 4-game lead over the Chi Sox and over Minnesota. In the American League East, Yankees lead Tampa by 7.5 games still. Tampa is on fire. They have won 6 games in a row. Yankees have won 4 in a row. They were able to avoid a sweep against Toronto, did sweep a 2-game series with the Mets, and they took the opener against Oakland last night. Oakland's horrible. So they have not been playing well recently. Still, I believe, are only 8-14 in August. And I think they got to be at least 6 games under 500 since July. And their division lead, which at one point was 17 or 18 games, now 7.5 games over the Rays. Houston Nationals were running way up the West. They'll win that division for 12.5 games ahead of Seattle. In National League Central, Cardinals, they are on fire. They now lead the Milwaukee Brewers by 6 games. In the National League Central, been playing some really good baseball. The Brewers have been sloping a bit really since they traded away Josh Hader at the trade deadline, and Cardinals have been on fire. Albert Pujols, one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now, in his last season in the league, the future Hall of Famer, is now just 7 home runs away from 700. He's 3 away from A-Rod, who's at 696 for being 4th all-time, and he's 7 away from being the 4th player in MLB history to reach 700 career home runs. Mets now 2 games ahead of the Braves. That's been first place pretty much all year, but the Braves have kept it early club, but Mets are still in first, 2-game lead over Atlanta, and the Dodgers continue to roll, 86-37. They are a whopping 49 games over 500, and they are 19.5 games ahead of San Diego in the National League West. As for the wild card races, the first wild card in the American League is still their race. They're a game and a half ahead for that first spot. The second wild card is the Toronto Blue Jays, who have the second spot, and that last spot in the American League is the Seattle Mariners. On the outside looking in, the Baltimore Orioles are 2.5 games out. And you have the White Sox are 5 games out, as are the Minnesota Twins. Even nationally, the first wild card is the Atlanta Braves, of course. I mean, they have 78 wins. Their Braves have 30 games over 500. They're only a wild card because the Mets have had such a great season. 10-game lead for that first wild card, so they should be at least the first wild card in National League this year. Defending World Series champs. Philadelphia Phillies continue to play well. They have a second wild card in the National League. 2.5-game lead for the second spot. And they're getting, got some news. Bryce Harper, who's been out for about 2 months, who was having an MVP caliber year before he got injured. Before he broke his thumb. Of course, he's won the MVP last year for the second time in his career. Is one of the best players in the league. He will be returning today for the Phillies. He played a couple of minor league games. He hit 2 or 3 home runs. He had OPS over 2,200. And the Phillies thought, yep, he's ready. So he'll be back with the team today. They're the second wild card in the National League. And the last wild card in the National League right now is the San Diego Padres. The Milwaukee Brewers are a game and a half out of the wild card. San Francisco Giants, 5.5 games out. So that's the MLB standings. We have some more breaking news. Seattle Mariners and expected American League Rookie of the Year this year, Julio Rodriguez, are finalizing a long-term extension. The news just broke, so we do not have all the details yet, but it's expected to be north of $200 million and possibly could reach as much as $400 $550 million. So Julio Rodriguez is getting a huge extension. I think he's like 21 or 22 years old. That's crazy. It's a lot of money for a young kid like that. That's what I got for MLB. We got some really bad news in the NBA. The number 2 overall pick in this year's draft and popular Rookie of the Year pick, Oklahoma City Thunder big man Chet Holmgren. He suffered a very serious foot injury in the pro-am, and that was run by former NBA player Jamal Crawford. So it was called the crossover. He suffered a Lisfranc injury, which was a very major foot injury. Some injury that Cam Newton had in his last year in Carolina that cost him pretty much the whole season. Some injury that Carolina Panthers quarterback Matt Corral has this year, their rookie quarterback. That will probably cost him the whole season. So Chet Holmgren is expected to miss the entire season with a foot injury, a Lisfranc injury, a very major foot injury. He hurt it in the pro-am ran by Jamal Crawford. He actually injured it playing defense against LeBron James. On the replay, it didn't seem like much. I think he was guarding him, and as he tried to jump to block a shot, and LeBron kind of overpowered him. I think he just came down a little bit funny, kind of limped to the bench, and MRI showed that he had a Lisfranc injury, and he will miss the entire season. That's a tough loss for a young kid who's really talented in Chet Holmgren. It was the second pick in the draft by Oklahoma City. It's a tough break for him. Tough break for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are in a rebuild, have a lot of young players, and he's probably maybe their most talented player that they have. Maybe has the highest ceiling of all the good young players they have over there in Oklahoma City. So that's a real shame. Hopefully he comes back good as new next year. But I also want to talk about some of these events. So the Pro-Am was a sanctioned NBA event. What that means is, so I'm not sure if any of you watched Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN2 at all. That's Jalen Rose, of course, a former NBA player. He's now an analyst, and Jacoby is his co-host. He's an NBA analyst. It's a pretty good show on ESPN2. It's on weekdays at 3:00 Eastern time for about a half hour. And he was saying that back when he was a player in like the 80s and 90s, like a lot of these events weren't sanctioned. What that means is, if the event is sanctioned by the NBA, it means that the players can play, and if they get injured, the team can't discipline them. That being said, if the events are not sanctioned by the NBA, if a player were to get hurt, then the team could terminate their contract and could get away with not paying them. So obviously these Drew League, which got really popular here. LeBron James played in it. You had a bunch of other NBA stars who played in it this year. For a while these leagues weren't sanctioned, so they're really cool because there are some NBA players that go, but they're playing with normal people. So if you're an NBA player for a non-sanctioned event, it's like, oh, I get to play the game I love, in the summertime. It helps me, stay in shape and you're ready for the regular season. I get to give back to the community. You get to play with a bunch of, average Joes, which will be a very cool experience for them. But at the same time, the event is not sanctioned by the NBA. If you really get injured, the team hypothetically could get away with not paying you. So, at first they were sanctioned, and then the NBA stopped sanctioning them. So the players stopped playing them. So the Drew League, I had never really heard of it, and I heard LeBron's playing in the Drew League. I was like, at first I was like, what the heck is that? I did some research, and then I realized, because the league, didn't sanction it, guys didn't want to get hurt because they got hurt, but their teams could get away with not paying them. They could, they can play around with their contract since the event wasn't sanctioned. So Drew League has been around for a long time, but the NBA guys for years were never playing in it because they didn't want to get hurt and risk losing a lot of money. But this year, they started sanctioning against it, so they That's why guys like LeBron and some other NBA stars started playing in it this year. Rucker Park is very famous in New York City. NBA guys show up and they play with all these other average Joes. Years ago, like 2006 or something, when he was really young, Kevin Durant came to Rucker Park and he played. He dropped like 60 points in the game. Years and years ago when Wayne was younger, Kobe Bryant showed up. Why do no pros ever show up to Rucker Park anymore? Because that is no longer a sanctioned NBA event, and if they get hurt, the teams cannot pay them. But the Pro-Am, run by Jamal Crawford, was a sanctioned NBA event, so I guess Chet decided, I get to prepare for my rookie season. I get to give back to the community. I get to play against some top stars such as LeBron James. I can go have some fun, work on my game. It'll be a lot of fun. And if God forbid I were to get hurt, the Thunder still have to pay me. Well, he's making a lot of money anyway as a rookie, but they can't terminate his contract or anything. But unfortunately, the worst case scenario happened. He suffered a season-ending injury. And I really think a lot of these leagues, I think either teams are going to tell your players you cannot play in those tournaments, or we're going to discipline you. And the NBA, I have a feeling they may stop sanctioning these things to stop these injuries from happening. So if guys do play in them, the team cannot pay them. I think some of these agents might tell their players, look, I would not play in this because if you get severely injured, that's a horrendous way to miss the entire season because you got injured in a game that didn't even matter. It was not and it wasn't even a preseason game. Not even like an organized team practice. It's like a fun little event hosted by some who knows. This one was by Jamal Crawford, an ex-NBA player. Some of them could just be some rich guy or something. So I have a feeling next summer we may not see as many pros play in the Drew League and in these Pro-Ams that we did this offseason. And the contract details have been released from Julio Rodriguez's contract. He got a 14-year extension worth $210 million, and he's got a bunch of options in it that could bring the deal to more than $400 million. We're on to the NFL. The other day I did my NFL preview. In a little bit later today, you will be able to view that on my YouTube channel. I did not do my awards picks and my playoff predictions. I decided to hold that for today, so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to do my NFL awards picks. I'll do that first, then I'll do my playoff seeding and my Super Bowl prediction. For the awards, the MVP of the NFL, my pick this year is actually Justin Herbert, quarterback from Los Angeles Chargers. The dude's a superstar, absolute star, or will be a top 5 quarterback in the game. I think he's got so many weapons. He's got Keenan Allen, who I believe is the top 10 receiver in the league. Mike Williams from a great tandem. Austin Eckler's a great running back who's going to catch a lot of passes. He'll catch probably 90 balls this season. You got Josh Palmer as a speed threat you have there. You have 2 good tight ends and a veteran, Gerald Everett, who's a good player, and a youngster in Donald Parham, who played well last year. He's got a pretty good offensive line. Joe Lombardi did a really good job as offensive coordinator last year. That was a good choice by Brandon Staley to make him his offensive coordinator last year. He's got a lot of work, and now going into his 3rd year. He's already a star. He's only going to get better. Also, now he's in his 3rd year, so he'll be eligible for a long-term contract extension this offseason. You just saw Kyler Murray get around just about $47 million a year, and if Kyler Murray is worth $47 million. If I'm Justin Herbert, I'm thinking I'm probably worth $50 million a year, and that's before he goes out and has a big year this year. So the motivation, talent that he has, he's only going to get better. All the pieces he has there with the Chargers, I think he'll be the MVP of the league this year. My pick for offensive player of the year, I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. Jefferson broke an NFL record for receiving yards in his first 2 seasons, broke the record that Odell Beckham Jr. set in 2015, I believe it was. So, and what was a run-heavy offense, with Dalvin Cook, the guy still had, he had over 1,400 yards his rookie year. He had right around that last year as well. Now they're going to a more pass-heavy offense under Kevin O'Connell. And they also have Adam Thielen there, which will draw away some double teams. Obviously, Dalvin Cook can catch the ball. Irv Smith, young tight end, will be healthy. KJ Osborne will be featured in a lot of three receiver sets this year. I got to worry about him. So he won't be getting as much attention in coverage this year because teams have to worry about so many other guys. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot more. He's already a guy who was racking up, at least 70, 80 catches. He's putting up 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 plus yards. And now they're going to get even more volume. He got a pretty good quarterback in Kirk Cousins. So I think could he have an even bigger year? I like Kevin McConnell. He's a real good coach. I think that offense will score a lot. And it starts with him. He'll obviously be the vocal point of the offense. And so I think he'll be the offensive player of the year this year. For defensive player of the year, I'm going with Aaron Donald. Why? Because it's Aaron Donald. He's won the award 3 times. He's been the finalist probably at least there 2 or 3 times. I know we had that, incident within the Rams and Bengals joint practice fight where he was seen, taking a Bengals helmet and hanging on a play with him, and he was holding 2 in his hand at one point. Could he get suspended? Don't think he will. I think the NFL will talk to the Rams like, look, you gotta control this, and the Rams will probably fine him. But I doubt he'll be suspended. If it's up to the Rams aren't going to suspend him, and I don't think the NFL will either. So he'll be there the whole season. The guy's a beast. You still have Leonard Floyd there, of course, and he's a great edge rusher, which he helped throw some of the double teams away from Aaron Donald. He'll still get doubled a lot, but it doesn't matter. He gets doubled, I think, at least 75% of the time, and I'm not even exaggerating. And he still goes out and wreaks havoc every year. He just got his payday. He's hungry for another championship. I think he'll go out and win the defensive player of the year for the 4th time in his career. Now to the rookie awards for offensive rookie of the year. There's a little more talent on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to rookies. I'm actually going to go with Drake London, wide receiver in the Atlanta Falcons. I know the Falcons suck. The Falcons have a very crappy quarterback situation with Marcus Mariota, who hasn't started the game in like 3 years. He's not the greatest option. You might see a 3rd-round rookie, Desmond Ridder, who may not be ready to see the field at some point later on in the season if the Falcons struggle and fall out of contention, which is very possible. But the Falcons don't have a lot of weapons. Outside of London, it's Kyle Pitts, who's a great young tight end. Cordell Patterson is pretty good. He's like the running back plus wide receiver combo guy. Outside of that, there is not a lot of weapons. Calvin Ridley suspended for the entire season. Whoever's playing quarterback, probably Marcus Mariota for most of the season, has got to throw the ball to somebody. I think he's going to get a lot of reps. His injuries. I know he's a guy who broke his ankle in his last year in college, and he got nicked up in preseason, but they say he's going to be fine for week 1. Not concerned about it. I think he'll be able to overcome the injury bug. He'll get a lot of reps. He's going to get a lot of targets this year. And I think he's going to be a great player, so I think he has a big year, and he'll be offensive rookie of the year. For my defensive rookie of the year, a lot more choices for this one. I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm actually going to go with Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson was the 2nd pick in the draft by the Lions. I think the guy's an absolute beast. I think he'll be a great player. Could be a guy who gets at least 12 to 14 sacks a year. I think he's that good. Coming out of Michigan, 2nd pick in the draft. I thought he should have been number 1 pick in the draft. I thought he was the best prospect coming out this year. I know, the Lions' pass rush isn't blowing anybody away, so can teams focus, or attention on him? Possibly, especially in the beginning of the year, but Romeo Okwara, who's on the PUP list right now, he's a really good player. He's got a 10 sack season under his belt. Once he come back, hopefully by week 5 or 6, don't have to worry about him. And that could be an underrated pass rushing duo. So he won't see as many double teams. I think he'll be able to overcome them. I know, the one concern is, Dan Mostretti was kind of quiet. He got dominated in the college football playoff game. But I think he's going to be a great player and will be a huge difference maker. And I think he was defensive rookie of the year. My comeback player of the year, this one's always tough. You never know. There's always going to be a bunch of guys, who are coming off injuries. You got to think, all right, how bad was their injury? Are they going to be back by week 1? What's the chance of re-injury? So these are so many factors that go into it. You know what? I'm going to take a shot in the dark, and I'm going to say Michael Thomas. A popular pick might be Saquon Barkley, and he missed a little bit of time last year, but he didn't miss that many games, and I don't have a ton of confidence in them. Michael Thomas missed the entire season last year, played just 5 games the year before. I know he's battling a hamstring injury in preseason, but I don't think it'll be too bad. I would think they'll have him by at least very early on in the season. The last time he was healthy, he broke the record for most receptions in the season, had over 1,800 yards for the Saints. I know he did have Drew Brees, and now he has Jameis Winston, which is a little bit of a downgrade, but Jameis Winston was playing well. Before he got hurt last year, I think he could pick up where he left off and have a real good season. I think the Saints have a very promising roster. I think they might be in the playoffs. And I think he comes back. I think he'll have a great season. I'll take him to be my comeback player of the year. Now, coach of the year. For my coach of the year this season, this one's tough. There's a lot. I think it's going to be a very competitive year in the NFL this year. I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Kevin O'Connell in his first with the Minnesota Vikings. I'll take another shot in the dark. Also, I really like him. He was, obviously the Washington Commanders have had a lot of offensive minds who they've let take head coach up elsewhere. Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, the list goes on and on. Kevin O'Connell was their offensive coordinator at one point, so he's no one that they let go. He did a really good job as a Rams offensive coordinator the last couple of years. Just won a Super Bowl. I think the Vikings offense is going to thrive in his system. I think the Vikings are going to be a lot better team. I think they can have a really promising season. Outside of the Green Bay Packers, that division is not hard at all. I can see them possibly winning 4 or 5 games in that division. I think they might be able to see one from Green Bay and possibly sweep Detroit and Chicago, especially Chicago. So I'm going to take Kevin O'Connell to have a real good year with Coach of the Year. So those are my NFL awards picks for the 2022 season. Now for my playoff predictions. I'm going to go say my seeds 1 through 7, and then I'll do my Super Bowl prediction, and then I'll move on. AFC, I have the Buffalo Bills as the 1 seed. They got a top 5 quarterback in Josh Allen. They got a ton of weapons. They got a great defense, well coached. Even though they lose their offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, Ken Dorsey, the quarterback's coach, gets promoted, so that should be a smooth transition. So Leslie Frazier, their other coordinator there, and of course Sean McDermott, their head coach, is a great head coach, done a great job there. So I have the Bills as the 1 seed. 2 seed, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. I know that division got a lot tougher, but they still have the best quarterback in the game. They got a great head coach in Andy Reid, the best tight end league in Travis Kelce. They got Eric Bieniemy is still there. They still got some really good weapons with Juju Smith-Schuster, who in health is a really good player. Sky Moore's a young receiver who I really like. I like Valdez-Scantling. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be healthy. They got a really good offensive line that'll be healthy. I think an improved defense. I still think they win that division. I have them at the 2 seed. My 3 seed, I have the Cincinnati Bengals, who maybe even better than they were last year, and they were in the Super Bowl last year. They revamped their entire offensive line. They got a very underrated defense. Joe Burrow is a stud in the making. They got some incredible weapons over there. Zach Taylor's a really good young head coach. I got them as a 3 seed. I think they win the division again. My 4 seed, I have the Indianapolis Colts. I have the Colts come out of the South. Matt Ryan, I think, can be a decent starter, even at his age, with the PC has around him. He's got a good offensive line. Jonathan Taylor is a beast at running back. He's got some good weapons. I like Michael Pittman. Alec Pearson, another good young receiver they have. They got some young receivers that I like. I like Mulvey Cox as a red zone threat. They got a really good defense. Frank Reich's a great coach, one of the best play callers in the league. I have them coming out of the South this year and being the 4th seed in the AFC. My 3 wild cards. AFC's going to be loaded. Probably going to have to win 10 games to get into the playoffs. The first wild card, I'm saying the Los Angeles Chargers. They'll win 10, probably 11 games, I think. They got a loaded offense with Herbert, like I just said when I said why I thought Herbert should be the MVP this year. So many great weapons along Justin Herbert. I do like Brandon Staley as a coach. He did call some applause last year with his clock management skills or lack thereof. But I think he's a young coach who's got a lot of potential. And now he's got some playmakers on defense. Adding Khalil Mack with Joey Bosa, adding J.C. Jackson, who may be out the start of the year, but should have him by at least week 3. Derwin James, who just got a bag. They should have a much improved defense now. They're one of the more complete teams in the league. I think they'll be the first wildcard. Second wildcard in the AFC, I'm actually going with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, whether he gets a contract or not, he'll be there. And I do not think they're going to end up agreeing on the extension, which I think will make him really motivated. I know Gus Edwards is out until at least week 5, but they have Dobbins healthy now. They're still going to have one of the best run games in the league. You know what Lamar can do with his legs. Now having Dobbins healthy, having a little more depth there. Brought in Mike Davis, who's a good pass-catching running back. Their receiver group isn't great, but Rashad Bateman's a young receiver that I like. Mark Andrews is a stud. They're going to run the ball so much that kind of a little bit offsets the like a 5-power wide receiver. O-line will be healthier, will be a lot better. Having Ronnie Staley, a stud left tackle, healthy. Kevin Zyer was a great pass blocker. You'll have him healthy. You add Linderbaum in the middle. So the O-line should be a lot better this season. On defense, a team that had a lot of injuries, they'll be healthier. In the secondary, you have Humphrey and Peters healthy. I think you improved at safety by drafting Kyle Hamilton and signing Marcus Williams. So that secondary will be healthy. I think will be really hard to throw on. Got some young linebackers I like, such as Patrick Queen. You got some young pass rushers and guys in the front seven. Patrick Queen, Dave Owa from our first rounder. And then you have some older guys like Calais Campbell, who's still a good player. Bring back Michael Pierce, defensive tackle you had earlier in his career. Then he kind of bounced around. Now he's back in Baltimore. He's a good player. So I'm going to go with the Ravens as my second wildcard in the AFC. And the last spot in the AFC, I'm going to give it to the Denver Broncos. They've been a quarterback away for years, really since Peyton Manning retired after 2015. And then they got the quarterback in Russell Wilson, who's got a really good set of weapons. They got a decent O-line. They got a really good defense, especially that secondary. I like Nathaniel Hackett, their first quarterback coach. I like him. I think a big upgrade over what Vic Fangio was doing the last 2 years. I think they'll be in the playoffs. I think New England will be close, but just the AFC is still loaded. I think New England's a good team, but I think their defense will take a step back, and I don't like what they're doing with the play calling over there, with having basically a special teams coach and a defensive assistant in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge co-calling the plays. Tennessee, I think, will be competitive, but Tannehill's now under a lot of pressure with Malik Wills there, and the O-line I don't think is great. Losing A.J. Brown's a big loss. I like Mike Vrabel. I like their defense. But, losing A.J. Brown, the O-line isn't great, and I don't know if Derrick Henry will be able to stay healthy. Also lost Julio Jones as well, who I think is still a pretty good player. So they'll be close, but I think in the end will end up coming up short. The Raiders, I think if they were in another division, I might have them in, but their offensive line isn't great. I don't think their defense is all that great. I don't love McDaniels as a head coach. They'll be a little overpowered in that division, so I don't think they'll get in. Those are probably the top 3 teams that I'll be on the outside looking in. In the NFC, the one team in the NFC, the AFC, obviously it's kind of very top-heavy. You have, a few elite teams, and you have your South teams going to be very competitive. NFC may be as competitive, not as top-heavy. But I think the number one team in the NFC, I think it's going to be the Rams. Did you lose some pieces? Von Miller was a big piece on their pass rusher. You got betrayed them all last year. You lose him. He's hurt anyway. He got hurt in the Super Bowl. May not be back until at least mid-season. Now you lose some pieces on the O-line. Andrew Whitworth, the left tackle, retire. Also Corbett, interior lineman who you lose. They still have a pretty good O-line. They still have a loaded offense with Stafford. I know they're saying he's got an elbow problem, but I think he'll be fine. Shouldn't be much of a concern. They got a good run game. Cooper Kupp's still there. You still have pretty much all your weapons. You had Allen Robinson, who's a great player. Higbee McClellan's there. I think they're still going to have a loaded offense. Even still got Aaron Donald, the best defensive player in the league. You have Leonard Floyd there. You got some young linebackers like you and Ramsey in the secondary. So I got a good secondary. I think they'll be number 1 seed in the NFC. 2 seed, I am going with the Bucs. I am concerned about the interior offensive line. That might be able to get pressure at the middle on Brady, which is his weakness. But that offense is loaded. Brady obviously going to be is still a great quarterback even at 45. Fournette running the ball, all those weapons, Mike Evans, Godwin, even with Gronk gone. Even with Julio Jones, who I think is still an okay player. You have Cameron Brake there at tight end. They just have so many guys there. And they got a great defense. I have confidence in Todd Bowles taking over as head coach. He's been there for a couple of years. I think he deserves a second chance, even though he struggled in his first one with the Jets. The Jets didn't have a good team. He didn't have any good quarterbacks. Then now he's got Tom Brady, of course, he has chemistry with. That even is going to be great. That front seven with Shaq Barrett on the edge. Joe Tyron's a former first rounder where I think he'll get a chance to play, and I think he's got a lot of potential. They're going to probably have the best run team in the league. Up the middle, you signed Akeem Hicks. You got Vita Vea there. You got two great linebackers from Devin White and Levante David. Some young pieces in my secondary who are pretty good. Also, they have the experience, especially with Tom Brady. So I think they'll be the 2 seed in the NFC. The 3 seed, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. I think losing Devontae Adams is a big loss. But Aaron Rodgers is a top 3 quarterback in the league still, even at his age. He's a 2-time defending MVP. They got a really good run game. The O-line will be healthier with Thierry, the left tackle, healthy. Alton Jenkins, healthy. Really good running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. We'll have your tight end, Talkin, healthy. I do like Allen Lazard. I think he's a pretty good player. I think he could step up. Christian Watson's a talented rookie, second-round pick who I like. I think they're going to have a really good defense. You draft Deontay Wyatt, Bushko G-line with Kenny Clark. You still got Preston Smith. Sean Gary will now have an extended playing time. These guys have gotten better every year being a first-rounder. You have Devondre Campbell, who you bring back. That secondary will have Jari Alexander, maybe the best cover corner in the game, healthy. You brought back Roosevelt Douglas. You got 2 good safeties in Adrian Amos and Jonah Savage. You draft Quay Walker as well, who will help. I think they got a really good defense. Mixture of the younger guys and some older guys. Matt LaFleur's a great coach. They should still be a threat. I think Rodgers is struggling in the playoffs. That's going to be the one thing. Can they get over that hump with Rodgers in the playoff? That remains to be seen, but I think they'll be the 3 seed in the NFC. Definitely going to win that division. The division is not good outside of the Packers. The 4 seed, I have the Philadelphia Eagles after coming out of the NFC East. I just love what they did this offseason, adding A.J. Brown, who's a great vertical threat, can do it all, great receiver. I think Devonta Smith now getting single coverage could be dangerous. Great tight end, Dallas Goedert. They got a really good running game. We know what Hurts can do with his leg. Miles Sanders, Bolton Scott there. Great O-line. I think Hurts takes a step forward. They got a real good defense. Obviously, you had Jordan Davis in the middle. You had the Kobe Dean at linebacker. You had James Bradbury in the secondary. I think they're going to have a great defense. I like Nick Sirianni as a coach, good young coach. I think the Eagles win that division. They'll be the 4 seed. For the wild cards, the first wild card in the NFC. Wild card in the AFC, you have, you're pretty sure the AFC West is going to have a bunch of playoff teams. AFC North has a couple of good teams over there. The first wild card in the NFC is a little tougher. I'm going to say it goes to the New Orleans Saints. Jameis Winston was playing really well. He was limiting his turnover, something he struggled with since being number 1 overall pick back in 2015. Even though they lose Armstead, left tackle, they did draft Trevor Payne, signed James Hurst. They still got a great offensive line. You have Kamara, might get suspended. Right now, he's not suspended. Appears to be in the clear for now. Michael Thomas, healthy. You draft Chris Olave, is going to be a great receiver, I think. Jarvis Landry's still a good player. LSU kid, Adam Troutman, young tight end who played well when he was healthy last year. Still got a really good defense. You lose some people, but still got Cam Jordan, David Onyemata in the middle, Demario Davis at linebacker, Marshall Lattimore at corner. You bring in Tyrann Mathieu at safety. Another LSU kid you bring in. Marcus May, if healthy, is a good player, but bring him in from a New York Jet. Dennis Allen, I trust Dennis Allen. I think he deserves a second chance as a head coach. He knows all the players. He's been their defensive coordinator for like 5 or 6 years now. I think they'll be just fine. I think they win 9 or 10 games to get into the playoffs. The second wild card, I'm going with the 49ers. I like Trey Lance a lot. Watching him preseason, I think he may make some mistakes, like every rookie does this year. But I think the big plays that they're going to be able to make with him that they won't be able to make with Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance is much more explosive. He's got a better arm. He can make more plays with his legs than Jimmy Garoppolo. will offset some of those rookie mistakes. They got a really good running game. Lose some pieces on the O-line. Their center, Alex Mack, retired. You lose Tomlinson, so the interior line got a little weaker. But Shanahan is such a great offensive mind. That zone run scheme works really well over there. They got some great weapons with the run game and Debo and Kittle, top 3 tight end in the game. Ayuk's another good young receiver who played well last year. They got a great defense with Bosa and Armstead up front, Fred Warner at linebacker. Secondary probably isn't as good as the front seven, but they're still solid. Really well coached team, even though they lose Mike McDaniel. Shanahan's still there to make a Ryan, defensive corner, who plays Robert Saleh wonderfully last year, is still there. I think they'll be in the playoffs again. Can they have a deep run? Maybe not. Trey Lance has never played in the playoffs before, but I think they'll be there. And the last walker in the NFC, I have the Minnesota Vikings getting that spot. I think this offense is going to score a lot. I don't love the offensive line there. The interior O-line could use some work. But Kirk Cousins is a solid starter. Dalvin Cook's a beast, a big weapon in the passing game. Justin Jefferson's a great receiver. Adam Thielman's a really good player, a beast in the red zone. You have him healthy. KJ Osborne, supposedly they really like. He'll be a starter now with them going to a 3-wide receiver set in Kevin O'Connell's offense. Irv Smith, the young tight end's healthy. The defense will be better. With Daniil Hunter off the edge, Gavin Thompson in the middle, Eric Kendricks at linebacker. Secondary's got, a veteran and Pat Peterson. Still a good player. You draft Andrew Booth. You draft Louis Sine in the first round. Still Harrison Smith should be a pretty good defense. Will be a lot better. I think Minnesota makes the playoff. I had no Dallas Cowboys. Along with that, I hate their fans. In all seriousness, them losing Tyron, that's a huge loss. I think they're going to really struggle to give Dak some protection. Their run game, which is really strong with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, I think will suffer. Michael Gallup should be held by probably week 2 or 3. Having him, CeeDee Lamb, and Dalton Schultz is a really good set of weapons. Tony Pollard can catch the ball. Their defense, outside of Micah Parsons, there's really no pass rush. The interior D-line isn't great. I like them bringing Anthony Barr. Their secondary outside Trayvon Diggs, who, 1, gets torched double time, and 2, outside of him, it's not any good. So, they might force a bunch of turnovers, but their pass rush still isn't going to be amazing because outside of Parsons, there's no one else there who's going to do any pass rush. DeMarcus Lawrence is past his prime. Randy Gregory is now in Denver. They got nothing over there. I think Mike McCarthy is going to succumb to the pressure. I'm not even sure he'll get out of the season as the head coach of the Cowboys. He'll probably be replaced, probably even mid-season. I think that's very possible. I don't like the coaching there. I think Dallas is going to end up missing out of the playoffs. I do not have Arizona in there either. Kyler really struggled without Hop last year, and he had the first 6 games. I know they have Marquise Brown's a good player. They run Del Moore, AJ Green's still pretty good. Ertz is a tight end. James Conner is a great pass-catching back. Kyler Murray is an incredible talent. They got some good weapons. Just the way that the offense and the Kyler Murray struggle, and the team really struggle without Hopkins for the first 6 games concerns me. I don't think the defense is that good. J.J. Watt can't stay healthy. The interior D-line could be better. I like some of the young linebackers like Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. But the secondary outside of Buda Baker and Byron Murphy, the young corner, isn't great. I don't love Kingsbury as a coach. Don't think he's done a great job, so I think Arizona finishes a little short. Those are my NFL playoff predictions. For my Super Bowl, I have the Buffalo Bills facing off against the Rams, who go back to Super Bowl for the second straight year, but fail to repeat, and the Bills win their first Super Bowl. That's my prediction. All right, we got some NHL news. Paul Stastny is a veteran player. Signed with the Carolina Hurricanes, the 1-year deal worth $1.5 million. Pretty good signing for Carolina. After losing in the second round to the Rangers in the postseason last year, they realized they got to get better offensively, and the main guy they brought in to help them out, Max Pacioretty, is out 6 months with an injury, so he's going to miss probably a lot of time this season. So I think they probably brought in Paul Stastny to kind of offset that. And Phil Kessel, who's now 34 years old, going into his 17th year in the league, signed with the Vegas Golden Knights, 1 year, $1.5 million. Not the stud he once was, but he's still a solid second or third line scorer. And he called up the Arizona Coyotes. He said something like it's good to play for a team that actually wants to win, something like that. I don't blame him. Coyotes are a dumpster fire. NHL news I got. We're going to do a recap of Monday Night Raw from Monday before we close out the show. Johnny Gargano returned from WWE. Former NXT star came back from a 9-month absence, which was mainly in NXT. Returned to WWE. He had a promo with Theory, who they knew each other in NXT. And Theory thought he was going to give him a high five. And then he ended up super kicking him. We'll see what WWE does with that feud. In the main event, Edge, who was wrestling for the first time in his hometown of Toronto, Canada, for the first time in over a decade, his wife and WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix looked very emotional in the stand, seeing him. I think the first time seeing him wrestle in Canada. I don't think they were married when he announced retirement in 2011. He defeated Damian Priest, but the Judgment Day attacked Edge after the match, but then Beth Phoenix came in the ring and threatened him with a chair, and then they ended up retreating. The rest of WWE in the Monday Night Raw, Riddle and Seth Rollins continued their rivalry. They brawled to open the show, and then the officials had to break them up. Io Sky and Dakota Kai in the Women's Tag Team Championship tournament, they did beat Asuka and Alexa Bliss. They advanced in the tournament. Of course, Trish Stratus made an appearance. She was kind of not in their corner, but gave them like a vow of conflict before the match in the feud with the six of them: Io Sky and Dakota Kai, Bayley, and then Bianca Belair, and then Asuka and Alexa Bliss. No sexual fight in a six-woman tag match at Clash of the Castle. Finn Balor defeated Dolph Ziggler in a one-on-one match. The referee did not see Rhea Ripley hit with a cheap shot, and then Finn Balor finished him off. Kevin Owens, who usually gets booed because he was in his hometown of Canada, he got a lot of cheers. Same thing with Sami Zayn. He defeated Chad Gable in a one-on-one match. And then in the women's match, Bayley defeated Aaliyah. Aaliyah was doing an interview backstage, and then Bayley and her faction confronted her. It was kind of like saying, you're stupid showing up by yourself. And Trish Stratus backed her up. And Aaliyah challenged Bayley to a match. And then Bayley, it was her first match back since she got hurt over a year ago. She hasn't actually fought. She's kind of been having her two friends do the work for her. But she beat Aaliyah. And an attack to Miz and Ciampa versus Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles ended in a no contest after Dexter Lumis kidnapped Miz in the stands. We'll see where that feud goes. That was Monday Night Raw. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Not sure I'll be doing my podcast this weekend. Next time you see me, might be this weekend, might be Monday, but whenever I see you guys, until then, so long, and have a great day.